Hello and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be a part of their world. Today, we are talking about Lorcana, Disney Lorcana graphic design. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. Last week we had a chance to visit with Disney Lorcana artist Casey Robin, which was a really cool episode. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the art, but just a lot of life lessons too. I wasn't expecting that. It was a really cool episode. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, make sure to go back and listen. And today we are joined by Disney Lorcana senior graphic designer Shane Smith to talk about the process of creating designs, the design of Lorcana. So Shane, welcome. How are you today?
Hello, I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Good to have you.
Awesome.
It's good to be here. Card reveals, getting all kinds of cool stuff that we find out about this week. So lots of fun stuff.
It is spoiler season. Spoiler season is here.
Spoiler season is my favorite season, which, I mean, let's be honest, there's about 8 months of spoiler season in a year. So there's only about 4 months where we're not always spoilers.
Yeah, that's true.
My Twitter account grows a lot in spoiler season. So yeah,
spoiler season's always stressful for me because I don't know when we're releasing certain things, and then I just start to see pictures of stuff and I go, oh, did we put that out? Oh yeah, we did. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
everyone's always so worried about
yeah.
But yeah, everyone's so worried about when things come out and can I talk about them? And that was what Steve mentioned. He's like, I got so many cards in my head and I don't know which ones I can talk about.
So
exactly.
So the Ed card that came out today, the hyena card, the artist actually commented on the post that I shared, and he's like, yeah, I did that card. So I was messaging him. He's like, yeah, I've been waiting for a year for this to come out. I've just been waiting to talk to people about it. So it's kind of fun. Yep. Anyway, so D23 is coming up, and we're going to talk about that. However, I want to back this train up and start with the last D23, okay? So last D23, when Lorcana was announced, there was a couple of Lorcana Discord servers that popped up overnight. And you were very active in those Discords in the early day. Honestly, you were like a mini celebrity. I'm sure we told you this, but we were just like, yeah, we have a Ravensburger employee in our Discord. And, it's just man. You were on a pedestal. Anyway, at least for me. So what made you want to connect and interact with the community so early on in that process?
I think for me, it was kind of by the time D23 happened, I had already been working on the game for a year and a half or something like that. And, it was such a secret, you couldn't even say the word Lorcana, right? Because it was nothing had been announced yet. And then when we announced it and D23 happened, I think for me, there was so much of finally we can talk about it and I can be excited and people are excited and we can be excited together. And it was just everyone was kind of hyping each other up, and it was just a really fun time, to be able to talk to people and say, look what we did. What do you guys think? And get that kind of feedback. And also for me, it was really funny to read everyone's theories as they were coming out. What are the pips and what are these numbers, and so for me, I was always what are they saying today? Oh, that's funny. Okay. Oh, they're way off, or they're getting close.
Scoff.
Yeah.
We every once in a while we did talk about man, they must be watching this just laughing at us with all the different theories we have.
Yep. At least I was. I thought it was fun. It was cool though, because it was kind of we designed this card frame and it came out, and it's really a test of the UI and the layout to see, if we don't explain anything, can people figure out what this is or what it does? And as you guys started to kind of figure it out, we were like, okay, cool. What we did, it makes sense. People are starting to figure out the pieces. So that was really cool.
I mean, we're going to talk about exactly what it is that you do here in just a second, but I mean, the layout of the card is just so nice. It's so smooth.
And I think that what we ended up with was nice and clean. and approachable. You know, that was one of the main goals too, was to make it friendly and not so intimidating for someone that's never seen a trading card before to go, whoa, you know.
Right, because the initial thought was, of course, that this is hopefully going to bring in people who aren't in the TCG space, and you don't want to make it difficult or any other bad word, threatening, whatever, to get involved in.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
and also we really wanted to frame the art. You know, there's a lot of space for the art just in the vanilla card frame, you know, to just be there and kind of be showcased.
So while we're talking about this, let's go ahead and get a little bit more detail, and let's talk about just exactly what you do as a senior senior graphic designer.
Yeah, so the shortest answer is I make all the cards. The longer answer is I basically work with the game design team and the editing team and the art direction team, and I take all those pieces, the illustration and the rules text, and I put them together and make a card out of it. Basically, when the card comes to me, it's an Excel spreadsheet and a drawing, right? Not to diminish the art, but it's just the illustration. And I run it through a series of automation tools that we have created, and it combines, it puts all the ink banners on and the parchment texture, and you know, if it's a character, it gets that one, and if it's an item, it gets that one, and all the stuff. And then it comes out as a finished card, and then I work on those. I typeset them. I try to clean up the text as best I can. Obviously, it's difficult to do, you know, every single card by hand. You know, I do my best, but it's a lot of cards. And then after that, I have to either direct or do myself the foiling of the cards. And once I have all the English cards done, foiled and designed and put together, I'll pass those off to my partner Scott, and he takes care of the, you know, the French and the German and all those. And then also when we do new card frames like D100 or D23 or Challenge or OP kit cards, I have to do the card frames for those, which is always cool. And then I help out in other ways too, like kind of planning the look of a set, what it's going to be, 3D renders of stuff that's going to get shown to the public, and stuff like that. Little things that I get to help out on. So it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like it. So you said that the version it shows up on, like you said, is basically just like information and art, and that's it. And then that becomes the card. So the card it becomes, it sounds like that's basically like a template that you've created, that it, based on whether it's a character or item, it kind of just like throws it together and then you make adjustments. Is the template something that you are like, is it static, or are you constantly going back and maybe like for set 4, we've now realized we need to do this, and now the template itself has changed? Sorry, like you adjusting that over time, or are you trying to keep it as similar or the same as possible throughout like the history of Lorcana?
That's a good question. So there are some major changes that happen. Like, for example, when we did the Illumineer's Quest and we had Ursula's deck, that has to be a new template, right? Those cards are completely different looking. So that has to be its own thing. If I'm doing like the challenge cards or the D23 cards, those are almost not templated because it's such a small, you know, select group of cards that I just do them by hand. But we do update the templates from time to time. Like, for instance, I was playing a game with another coworker, and we were playing with foil cards. And across the table, the other foil card that I was playing against, I couldn't read the willpower because the foil was reflecting dark, right? You know, the foil, sometimes the foil is bright and sometimes it's dark depending on the light. And I couldn't read the willpower. So I said, we should change the way we do the foil on that. We should make it slightly less foiled, so there's some white ink in there, so that even when it's dark, you can see it. So that was a small update that we made that, you know, it was kind of cool for me to be like, playing it and saying, well, I have the power, you know, I can make that change, you know. But I think it was an improvement. And I don't know if those cards with that update have come out yet, but that was a small, you know, little tweak that I made.
I was gonna
And
say
an
now I want to
example of,
go look.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, look, yeah.
so like when you know, you have the image, the text, and all that stuff, and then you put it together.
Mhm.
Does it have to go somewhere for approval, or is it just like you are the guy that's like, all right, this is done?
Um, as far as the image goes, once I generate the image of the card, right? Once the illustration's in the card frame and it's got all the icons and everything, it's pretty much done. That's it, because I get the art when it's approved. You know, it doesn't just come to me as a pencil sketch and I have to update it later. It's
Right.
when I get it, they say, yeah, here's the thing. And the way the automation works is it's locked down pretty tight, where it's gonna read, it's gonna say, oh, it's a ruby, so it's gonna get this, and it's gonna have, you know, 2 quest points, so it's gonna get that. You know, it's inkable, so it gets this, and it's pretty locked down. So they're pretty final.
That's
We
awesome.
obviously do review them afterwards, right? And the art directors will get a chance to look at them and, you know, check them, but it's pretty much done when it comes to me. I'm kind of at the bottom of the funnel for the cards.
So I think you talked about and covered this already, but when you are working on a new set, what does that process look like?
So working on a new set, there's a lot of stuff that's the same, right? Most of the cards look the same as the previous set as far as what the card frame looks like. There are some things that change each set, like for example, the OP kit cards. Each time we do a new set, the texture in the parchment area changes a little bit. I try to theme it towards kind of the vibe of the set. So like if you look at set 2, there's those kind of swirls in there from the like that floodborne cave that Peter Pan was flying in. Set 3 has those kind of map lines with the little lore stars on there. I think set 4 we did like some tentacles or some kind of ink splatter. So that kind of stuff is an early on kind of consideration with what are we going to do? What's the theme? What's the story? And how can we show that on these cards? And then if there's a major thing like the Ursula cards, that's also a really early, you know, I need to know ahead of time, because we can't just, you know, slap together an Ursula card and say, here it is. So there's a lot of information gathering at the beginning.
Okay. So I think, does that answer your question, Jared?
Yep.
Okay. So my question is the frames. So we have different frames. There's the frame for the art, but there's also frames for the text. And like, what goes into like creating those? Because I want to show one, which is we actually had one of the cards revealed today was the first enchanted from the new set. And let me see if I can.
I've got it pulled up if you want, James.
I was about ready to as well, so
Okay.
I think I can do this. There we go. So it's this.
There he is.
And it's the boy Donald. It's awesome. So this one looks very different from the previous set Enchanteds because it's got a completely different text box around the ability and all of that. So like, can you like go into like why and what is happening there, why you change things, what you know, what goes into making that?
Yeah, so this one was for me a little bit daunting because I was following up the beautiful enchanted design from the first 4 sets. But when we got to set 5, we thought, you know, people have seen already 4 sets of enchanted cards and they kind of know what to expect, and maybe we can freshen it up, do something different. How can we show more art? How can we, you know, reveal more, make it a little bit more bang for your buck as far as, you know, the card space and the art. So we really pulled back the frame elements, as far as, you know, an enchanted card already didn't have that much on it. It was already pretty minimalist, but you can see on this, we've even pulled back further. There's no ink bar. The bottom is translucent, so you can see art even under there. The text area has this kind of cool frosted glass look to it, where you can see the art through it, but it's not distracting you from the rules text. So this was really like a, you know, how can we make it different and cool and still feel like a Lorcana card? And this took several drafts to get to. And then we printed it out, you know, on foil paper, and we said, you know, can you read it? No. Okay, we should change this. Yes. Okay, it's looking good. We can, you know, let's turn this dial a little bit. Let's tweak that a little bit. Let's get it printed from the factory. Does it look still good? Okay, yeah. So there was a lot of experimenting on these to get them to look the way we wanted them to.
No, I even remember messaging you earlier today because somebody on Twitter was like, look at the sorry, James, you just pulled it down.
Oh, sorry.
Was talking about the attributes there in the middle, or like, you know, in the set one, and they had the Aladdin enchanted, and the text right there in the middle with the attributes was centered in the middle. On this one, they're left justified. I was like,
Yep.
That's a good question. And you're like, well, look at where the bar's at. Like, it's right in the middle of the strength and the willpower. They're like, there's less space. So it's little things like that you're like, you look at this and you're like, yeah, something's different about this. And then when you actually take the time to sit down and look at it, like, those things, they make sense.
Yeah, definitely. We tried to kind of condense the information a little bit to show more art. Like the part where it says Pie Slinger, I think that's about the same size as it was before, but the Donald Duck part is smaller, right? Because the name on the cards are pretty big, so we had some room to shrink them. And then the classification bar, we call it, that part, we shrunk it. We, like, you know, nudged it, you know, brought the strength and willpower in a little bit. And then if we had centered the text, it started to look really weird because it was almost like right justified to the end of the bar because it was sitting in the middle. So we were like, well, if we put it to the left, then it kind of fits with the rest of the text, and that's going to be neater. And then we have some room to, you know, when you have these longer ones, like, I don't know, there was a card, I think it was John Silver.
John Silver,
one of the earlier set. Yeah, he's got so many. So, you know,
I was about ready to ask, is that enough room for John Silver?
That's the one I test with.
That's how we know it's not getting an enchanted, if it has 20 classifications in there.
Oh man. Yeah.
Just teasing.
So yeah, different things that we considered. Yeah.
So I just want to lead this into a broader discussion of the foiling process in general. Coming from somebody who, like, knows nothing about card games and stuff like that, I remember when it was actually at Gamma when they released the first foils, and well, I think they talked about how the cards were going to be cold foiled. And I'll be honest, like, I don't know what the difference is between like a cold foil, a regular foil. Like, what are the differences in foils, and what goes into designing different types of foils?
Yeah, so the kind of three that I know, well, there could be more, but there's cold foil. Cold foil is where the parts of the card that are foiled are actually printed onto the paper. They actually print silver onto the paper, and that becomes the foiled part. So it's just a normal piece of paper with, you know, they print silver, and then we print white ink on top of that where I don't want foil to show, and then we print the color on top. There are normal foils, like an enchanted card, which is on a foiled piece of paper. The whole piece of paper has like a foiled plastic, like, top half to it. And those also will print white ink on top. It's called a white underprint, or opaque white. That goes on top to hide foil in certain areas, and then the color goes on top. The difference between those two is the cold foil is a little bit darker. It's a little bit more, you know, like a silver, grayish, darker metal kind of color. And the other foils you've seen, like enchanted cards, are vibrant. You know, they're really bright. So there's kind of a difference there. Then there's also what's called a hot foil, which I've done on other trading cards at my previous job, which is like a foil stamp that goes into the paper, and they'll do like, if you see like a crash number, like, you know, this is a limited number run, they'll have those sometimes, or sometimes they'll do them on the borders of cards. And then there's like the gold Mickey. That's another process. That's like a totally separate thing with many steps, and that one gets complicated. But there's all kinds of different ways to do foil, and for me, knowing what the pattern of the foil is also important, because if you look at, for example, the challenge cards, the foil on those is crazy, right? It's like a Van Gogh Starry Night situation. It's like a really crazy swirl. And knowing that ahead of time is helpful, because I can say, well, I don't want this crazy stripy pattern to go across Rapunzel's face. So it's good to know that ahead of time, so I can say, well, let's show a little bit less on her face, so you don't kind of interrupt her, her appearance. There's a lot of things that go into what the type of foil is, how the light's going to play on it, all this kind of stuff. And setting up the files becomes different too. If I have to do a cold foil, I have to say where I want the silver to go. If it's an enchanted card, I know the whole thing's foil. So there's a lot of pieces in it. But it's fun. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. It's pretty cool.
It's a good thing, because you have a lot of cards to foil.
I do have a lot to do. That's true.
I recall way back at the beginning, before anything came out, someone in an article said that there was someone who has foil patterns in their office, and that's one of their jobs, is like picking foil patterns. And is that like secret, where they like keep them until they show them and like, okay, we're doing this one now? Or is it like a group thing where you're like, are we going to pick this foil pattern? Like, which one are we going to do? And they kind of like go through all the different foil patterns and pick them.
Well, it's not such a secret in the office, right? But usually it's my boss, Shane Hartley, the creative director. He has one of those books of foil samples. I have one also. And we'll kind of go through and say what makes sense for the theme of the cards, if there is one, or what's just different, what's going to feel kind of on brand. There are some crazy foil patterns. there's like a tartan one in this book. There's like a X kind of metal, like that kind of like floor pattern thing that you've seen, like those weird floors. There's crazy ones, and so it's a lot of like, that would be weird. Okay, oh, this one's cool. Oh, that's crazy, and just swiping through. And I think sometimes the other Shane will say like, these ones we'll bookmark for later maybe, but this is the one we're going to use for such and such.
Now I want a book of foilings.
It's cool. They're cool. They're cool.
I was just going to reminisce.
I don't think I have
James,
one on
do you remember when we were at Gamma, when Ryan, it was rumored that Ryan had shiny cards. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And we went and sought him out, and he was standing at the booth, and we're like, hey, we heard you might have some shiny cards. He's like, oh? And he gets all coy. And then he's like looking around to make sure nobody's looking. And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls it out like such a showman. And he's like, guys, look. And of course, then we're all like, ooh, like that for me is forever etched into my mind when I think about shiny Lorcana cards.
Me too, actually, because that's the first time people were seeing our foils. And that was something that me and Sophia also, we had come from the same job before where we did trading cards, not trading card games, but like, we did, DC's The Flash, season 5 trading cards, whatever, those kind of things. And we did foils on those. And so when we came here, we were like, okay, we got to do the foils. How are we going to do it? What are we going to do different? And for us to see people reacting to those for the first time was super cool, because we were like, oh, they're excited. Okay, cool. We're excited too. Let's keep going. And it was very kind of encouraging. It was cool.
It was very fun.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things that you were able to do was when Into the Inklands came out. Uh, the official like Team Lorcana called a main
Uh-huh.
stage. They did like a main stage presentation where they did a bunch of reveals. And you were a part of that process. So what was that like being able to talk to so many people? I mean, by set 3, the game had already been out for what, 6 months. People have been
So,
buying
yeah.
it. They've been participating in it. Like the hype was there. So, and I think like I was driving at the time. Okay. So I didn't really see, but I think there was like 600 people that were in there
It's a lot of
listening.
people.
So yeah, tell us what that experience was like.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there. I think I had asked Rochelle if I could be on the main stage. I was like, can I do a reveal? I think I asked her, and I got to be on there, and I was nervous during that because like early days, like around D23 when the first Discords came out, there weren't that many people. It was still kind of growing, and then our Discord came out and that was growing too, and there's so many people, and then I didn't know beforehand, but when I went to do the main stage, it was like, oh, Jonty and Rebecca are here, and I was like, oh man, I watched their stuff too. Now I'm nervous because I'm with Jonty and Rebecca. So I had like a
That's
little bit
awesome.
of like, yeah, I had like a little bit of like, I don't know, like stage fright, or when you see a celebrity, I'm like, oh man, it's these two, and now
Never
there's
would I have ever
casting
guessed.
challenge.
Oh.
Yeah,
Jonty is going to have such a big head now.
I know.
I'm gonna edit this out. Just teasing.
Yeah, yeah. I got to join in, and we're there, and they were great. Yeah, we'll silence out their names. But it was fun. It was cool. I do remember when we showed the Jolly Roger card, and the classification was missing on the on the classification bar. It doesn't say location, and that was a Shane goof up. So when that card came up on screen, I was like, "Ooh, don't make a face." I was like, "Oh man," because that's the first time I had seen it, and I was like, "Oh man, bummer." So I take it really personally when there's a mistake on a card, because we spend so much time working on them. But it was cool to reveal cards, and especially a Peter Pan card. So that was really cool. That was really cool.
And of course, I can't leave this topic without mentioning that call out you gave me there at the end of the presentation.
I think I called you up for not liking the foils.
Okay. So in my defense, what I said was, there are so many people who are talking about collecting, people like James who are like, oh, I want 4 of every card plus 1 to never play with plus one cold foil. And so I was like, you know what? The foils are nice. I like them. And if I get them, I'll keep them, but I'm not going to go out of my way to collect them. So that was my comment.
Okay.
I'm not trying to say I didn't like them, especially that Scrooge McDuck foil, primo.
Ooh, yeah, that was fun. That was fun. All right, I forgive you.
Yeah, revisionist history. I think they're a little bit. But...
Yeah.
So yes, I had a selfish reason in bringing this up. Now I'm going to step off my soapbox here.
Okay.
Just teasing. No, but that was fun. I really enjoyed listening. Like you said, you were there. Jonty and Rebecca were there, and there was such an excitement because I think this is the first. Well, no, I went on the main stage with Rochelle once, but I think this is the second time they did a big main stage presentation like this. And it was just
fairly new.
There was so much hype for it, so it was fun.
It's true. Yeah. We hadn't done very many at that point, so it was kind of like a exciting new thing to do. But definitely for me, I was nervous. I don't think I said very much. I think I was just kind of there smiling and nodding most of the time.
Soaking it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a card, right? Yeah, it's a cool card. Okay. What's the next cool card?
I've seen these cards before. Yeah.
So when we talk about cards at the end of the podcast today, you're just going to be sitting there smiling.
It's like, I knew all of these months ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about conventions. So you you had D23 back at the very beginning, and you've been able to go to some more. So what's it like being like? Now you mentioned that it was cool, having the main stage where there was a few hundred people there, but when you go to conventions, you get to actually see people like physically there interacting and being like, this is Lorcana, it's awesome. What's it like being there in the face of the demand of Lorcana?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I mean, I've worked on a lot of different games in my career. I used to do video game packaging and collector's editions, and I did board games and stuff at a different job. And then when I came here, obviously I'm working on Lorcana, and this is the first time I've been at a place where people are lining up to get the thing that I worked on. Right, I'm not like at GameStop on day one seeing if anyone's going to come buy this game. I'm not at Barnes and Noble seeing if someone's going to pick up this board game. But here I am at Gen Con, and there's 50 bajillion people stampeding, coming to get me. But I think, yeah, it's for me. It's just like, it's every time I'm still surprised. I've never been like, oh yeah, there's going to be people there. I'm still surprised at the amount of people that show up. And I'm thankful. I'm happy that people are excited about it. It's really cool to know that I'm working on something that people are excited about. Yeah, and it's cool to see people. Like I get to see, Jared will come by, or I might see you. I've seen a couple other people. I think I saw Liam came by one time and just like took a picture of me and ran off. And I was like, hey,
That's par for the course with Liam. That guy is always on the run in the convention. He's like, you never know what opportunities are out there.
Yeah, he's fast. Yeah, it's cool. It's just cool to see people, and I think it's very much like those early days at Discord. Being excited with other people. It's not often that I get to interact with like the community, and so it's cool to be there and be excited with people instead of at people or whatever, just at home working on cool cards.
So speaking of conventions, while we're on this topic, I mean, obviously besides meeting me, what do you have a favorite convention moment? Is there anything that stands out in your mind?
Gosh, I have to think of another one now. You took my answer. I think one of the coolest things for me was at Gen Con. Obviously that was the first time we sold actual playable sets of stuff to people. And it was cool to go back to the hotel at the end of the night, back in our like civilian clothes, and just see people sitting in the hallway playing Lorcana for the first time, figuring it out. And I'd never seen someone else play Lorcana before. So I was like, oh, cool. And we would kind of like, me and the other people that were there, we would kind of go over and hover and go, what is that you're playing? And they would go, oh, it's Disney Lorcana. We'd say, what is that? And they would tell us, and that was really fun. At that same convention, I got to play with Nicholas Cole, and he kicked my butt. He did a really sneaky thing where he was at like 18 lore or something, and he played a card, and then it was out, and then it was his next turn, and he said, I'm not questing. And we were all like, what? And he did that trick where none of us had removal, and so when it got back to him, he just quested with this last thing, and we couldn't stop him. And that was his first game ever, and I was like, oh, this guy, I don't know about him. He's sneaky.
He's a winner.
He's a winner. He picked it up. Yeah.
I had a similar experience because we went into that there was a hall, like a big ballroom where you could go play games wherever. We were sorting out cards, we were trading, and that was awesome. That was one of my favorite parts. But so many people were walking by like, oh, what are you guys playing? And a lot of them, because it was so new, like, oh, you're playing a kid's game. But a lot of people really were interested in it, and I think we've shown them.
Yeah. The other thing that's cool is seeing people in cosplay. I think at Gen Con was the first time I saw someone dressed up as a Glimmer. There was like a Sorcerer Mickey running around, and
we were
all like to each other. We were like, "Oh, did you see the Sorcerer Mickey? He's over there. He's amethyst and everything. He's got the symbol on his belt." And we were so excited. And just the other day, I saw online someone was dressed as Giant Tinkerbell, and I was like, this is so cool. People are dressing as these characters that are in our game. That's wild. It's just so cool.
I love it. Yeah, there was that.
Yeah.
I think just this week there was Warrior Anna.
I know. I'm trying to find it to pull it up.
She
pretty
had
awesome.
that crazy shield and everything. She looked awesome.
Yeah, she said it took her 3 weeks of took her 3 weeks to build. It's like, that's crazy. You made it in 3 weeks.
That's not enough time. Wow.
As someone,
it took longer. It took longer to make the card than it did to make the costume.
As someone with a looks like a fully functioning proton pack behind him, I think we might trust your ability to judge how long a costume should take to make.
Yeah.
All right.
Unlicensed
So
nuclear accelerator.
Man, I post too much.
So we're going to ask you a few rapid fire questions here. Just some quick answers. You don't have to give long answers unless you want to. Which 2 inks do you identify with the most?
Emerald Steel.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot this was rapid fire. I was like waiting for an explanation. Anyway, okay.
Oh,
I
can if you want.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, yeah. Why Emerald Steel?
The Emerald Steel deck is, for me, is like so much fun because people like to play challenge decks or bounce decks and stuff. But this is evil of me. This is very Emerald of me, I think. But like the face someone makes when you say discard a card, it's like, for me, I don't know. It's just, I laugh. And I first did. So people play Emerald Steel differently than I think I do. A lot of people do all the discard cards in Emerald, and then their steel is like direct damage or that kind of stuff. Mine was kind of like the same for the Emerald parts, but my steel was a lot of bodyguards to protect my little sneaky guys, like bodyguards to protect Prince John. He would come out, and then Hercules would be there, and I thought that would be a good way to like protect those little squishy guys. I don't know. I just think it's fun, especially with my coworkers. And like, everyone discards a card, and I get to draw a card because I have Prince John. I think one time I drew 16 cards because there was like a whole bunch of people, and I had a couple Prince Johns, and I just like drew my whole deck, and everyone had no cards left, and they hated me.
That's awesome.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Okay, so what is your favorite card?
Yeah.
What's your favorite card from sets 1 through 4?
Captain Hook, Forceful Duelist.
I knew it. It was going to be that or Giant Tink.
It is. So the Captain Hook, Forceful Duelist, obviously he was a D23 card way back in the day. And when I was a kid, I used to play pirates with my dad. Like, we used to have a Lego set like this big pirate ship. And, we used to watch Hook all the time, and Peter Pan was my favorite. So I've always been attached to Peter Pan. And I remember when we were doing the original D23 cards, me and Matthew Ng, the lead art director, went to the factory to approve them on press. We got to sign off on them. And Matt he signed off on most of them because he's the lead art director. He got to sign those. But when the Captain Hook cards came off the press, I said, wait, I want to sign that one. And they said, okay. And they handed me this sheet of, the first Captain Hook D23 cards to be printed, and I got to sign them. And that's like one of the highlights of my Lorcana career so far. Just being able to sign the first Captain Hook cards. That's like a big highlight for me. So that's my favorite.
Getting goosebumps just hearing you talk about it. That sounds so surreal.
It was really cool. Awesome. It was really cool. I got goosebumps too. Yeah.
It's like, I got to do that.
It was cool.
Have you had well, I mean, we know what colors you like, so I think we know what your favorite deck is from sets 1 through 4. It's the discard deck, but with bodyguards, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite deck that I've built. But I think if I was going to pick like a starter deck that came out, I really liked the Amethyst bounce deck that came out, the Merlin one. That was really fun, just because that was a new way to play that I hadn't done before. This is like my first TCG to play, so I was like, oh, bouncing cards, this is really fun. I can make them come back and go back out. And so that was my favorite starter deck to play.
Which set have you had the most fun working on?
The challenge set. So the challenge set was cool because, as you've seen, the card frame is totally different, right? There's all kinds of stuff overlapping in the foreground. It's like a full art card. The foil is kind of crazy. And it meant that I got to do the gold Mickey, which was a super, super cool card to make. That's like another highlight card for me that I got to do that. That was super, super cool.
And just so everybody knows, when you say the challenge set, you're talking about the cards you can win at the DLCs, the Disney Lorcana challenges. Yeah, so while we're talking about that, tell us about the gold Mickey. Everything.
Oh, man. Okay, everything. So the gold Mickey was just a really cool process in general. Initially, Shane Hartley said, when people get this card, I want it to feel like it was etched in gold. It needs to feel like a trophy, like a prize, like a treasure, you know? And so I said, okay, cool. Yes, sir. Right. And so I got to work with the art directors and Nicholas Cole a little bit to say, you know, here's this kind of card frame that I'm going to do, which now you have seen is similar to the set 5 enchanted cards. It's that kind of reduced looking card frame. So I sent that to Nicholas and I said, this is the area that we're going to have to work with, you know, so he knows where to put Mickey. And that came back and I edited it and made it, you know, gold colored, made it grayscale. And then I put some filters on it and, you know, tweaked it here and there to make it look gold. And I had to try and match what I thought the actual gold foil on top was going to look like. So I mixed it to a certain color mix, which I thought looked good. And then there's that foiling on top, which is a whole separate process. Very, I'm going to use the word proprietary, but it was very cool. You know, they gave us a selection of patterns that we could use for the pattern behind Mickey's head. And so we picked one that we thought was cool that kind of went with the card, which is those crazy swirls. And I said, this is where I want them and this is how big I want them to be. And then I went through and did all these little highlights on Mickey. You can see like on his glove and on his hat. Oh, you got a picture coming up. Yeah, look at that thing. So I did all these little highlights on him and kind of hand traced some stuff and put that together. And then that's another one that I got to go sign off on in person. And me and Shane Hartley went and we looked at every single card that came off the printer. You see it says out of 500. We looked at every card. We looked at every single one. We had little white gloves on and hairnets. And we looked at every single card and we judged them. And if they were bad, we said, you know, you have to reprint number 7 or whatever. It's not good enough.
Wow. Where do the rejects go? Just teasing. I know you can't answer that.
They were destroyed.
Okay.
They were destroyed.
Makes sense.
Yep. But
well, it was a beautiful card.
Yeah. It's hard to photograph. It's really hard to take a picture of it. It's so shiny.
And so is it just extra layers to make it give it that heft of feeling like a trophy?
It's the layer of gold that's printed on top that I think makes it feel a little more substantial. Because that foil on top is not the typical foil that we've done on, you know, cold foil cards or enchanted cards. Although the paper that it's on is a rainbow foil like you would get in an enchanted. But that gold on top really adds a little something extra. Yeah.
All right, man. Technical stuff, but it still looks so awesome. I just love it. Okay, this is a fun one. If you could hang out with one Lorcana character, who would it be?
Oh, geez. I didn't prep for this one. I should have studied. I feel like that's a good question. That's a good question. I'm gonna say the enchanted Peter Pan. The pirate.
Yeah.
Is he the pirate's Bane? Yeah, Bane of Pirates. That one's
Right.
cool. Yeah. I love his ability. It's like so specific. You know, he doesn't take damage when he fights pirates. It's so specific, but it's such a cool little gotcha card. If you pull that out, the other cool one would be the Goofy Knight for a Day. I've gotten to play that once at a local game store, and that was like an epic moment. And then someone dropped a Chernobog against me, and we had like a kaiju fight. It was epic. It was so cool.
I would love that. I
awesome.
want to use
It
that
was so
Goofy
cool.
so bad.
I used him with the Mickey Trumpeter.
Nice.
That's how I got him to come out. Yep.
Nice. Mickey Trumpeter lasted a turn.
Mm-hmm.
A little disappointed you didn't go with Flounder, but I'll forgive you.
Oh boy.
Okay. So we talked. Thanks for answering those rapid fire questions. We talked a lot about designing the game and the process behind it. Like I said, I want one of those books with the foils in it. So what if someone listening to this podcast is really inspired and wants to get into the field doing what you're doing? What advice would you have for them?
I would say it's important not just to know about good graphic design, you know, how to lay things out and visual hierarchy, you know, where do you want the eye to go? All that stuff is super important. That's like core to graphic design. But something that's a little bit more specific and hard to find in a designer is knowledge of print setup, because it's very different from making a web graphic or, you know, a motion graphic. If you're working with print, there's so many little specific things, right? Even just talking about the foils, you can tell it's technical. It gets complicated, but there's so many little things just to know. So I would say if you want to get into making trading cards, you should definitely, if you have the chance, look into some kind of print class so you know how to set those things up, especially specialized techniques like white plates and, you know, foiling and all that kind of stuff. That's super, super helpful.
I mean, if you've ever printed your own photographs at home, which, you know, I used to print them, you know, like how thick the paper is, how much ink it's going to soak up, and all those things matter as to how it comes out and how it looks. It's a lot.
We have
it's
a whole.
definitely
Oh yeah, and we have a pre-press person that after I make the cards, they go to her and she messes with the ink density and all this. That's even more advanced than what I know. That's like a whole world that, you know, I'm happy that you keep it over there. It's fine. You know, I trust you. You can do it. I just make the card frame look cool.
Oh, man, it sounds like so much work, but it's so much fun.
Both of those things are true.
Okay. I think is that all the questions we had? Is there anything else we want to dig deeper in? I think that's about it.
I mean, we're gonna talk about the D23 set, but that's coming up here.
Should we talk a little bit about costuming?
Costuming?
That's his side gig. Like I said, he's got the proton.
Oh, my cosplay stuff.
Yeah. No.
You could ask me. Go.
So, who's your favorite one to cosplay as? I know you do a few like really in depth, but which character do you enjoy cosplaying the most?
Indiana Jones is like my go-to. That's the one that I did first. There's a picture of me like as a little kid with a bad Indiana Jones costume, and like my mom painted like a 5 o'clock shadow on me. It's like super old. So that's the first kind of cosplay I ever did, and I think that's kind of stuck with me. And And I go super in depth on that too. Like, get the hat from the person that made the hat, and get the boots from the people that made the boots, and try to be really meticulous and specific. But the other costumes that I do are obviously Ghostbusters, which is very different because that's a lot of hand making stuff. Like, I've got a ghost trap that I made that has lights and sound and smoke, and obviously the proton pack, which is heavy. You can wear it for like 10 minutes, but it's super cool when you turn it on and you hear the sound, and then Doctor Who also, I got a 10th Doctor costume that I'll bring out sometimes, which is cool because it's this suit, it's kind of casual. It's not so obvious that it's a cosplay, but you can run around and sonic screwdriver stuff and wear 3D glasses like a nerd. So there's a couple of cool ones. Yeah, it's fun.
Is that a DeLorean also on the shelf behind you there?
Oh yes, so this is my little collection shelf. So there's a DeLorean Lego there. That's an Aston Martin. That's the Ecto one, obviously. There's my trap that I built, and then there's the pirate ship, and up there you can see giant Tinkerbell.
Giant Tinkerbell.
Nice.
Big enchanted card.
Nice. Wow, that's so awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So you do you cosplay as a Marty as well? From Back to the Future?
I should. I should. I really should. Everyone's gonna be like, "Why is McFly in your name?" But the truth is, when I was a kid, I also loved Back to the Future. But I was joining this kind of like this Indiana Jones cosplay group, and everybody was named Indy something, and all the Indy names were taken. So I was like, I'm gonna be Indy McFly, and so that became my thing. And now that's just my nickname that I keep. Even my Ghostbusters jumpsuit, it says McFly on it instead of Smith or whatever. But it's just kind of fun. I don't know.
You were one of the early adopters of cosplay mashup.
I guess so.
So
you saw me at Gallifrey. I was the Dr. Jones. I had my 4th Doctor scarf with my Indiana Jones outfit and sonic screwdriver, and that was fun too.
Mash it up a little bit. So I also wanted to just point out something that I think was really awesome a couple of years ago now. You got to go to the premiere of the most recent Indiana Jones movie. I did. That must have been an awesome experience.
That's probably the highlight of my nerd career. I never thought I would be at a movie premiere in general, let alone an Indiana Jones premiere. That was so cool. I remember I got an email from Lucasfilm, and they said, "You're invited to the premiere. It's this date, and let us know if you can come. And if you're going to wear a costume, we need to see a photo of it ahead of time." And I was like, that's a really weird, specific spam email. And I was like, they got me. Someone leaked my something, and they know. And then I got a DM from an old friend of mine that used to be an Imagineer. And he said, "Hey, did you get any interesting emails lately?" And I said, you did it. You told them about me. And he said, "Yeah, are you going to go?" And so I said, heck yeah. So I bought a plane ticket last minute and flew to LA, and a whole bunch of us Indiana Joneses hung out on Hollywood Boulevard, taking pictures with strangers, and then got to go on the red carpet, and Harrison Ford was there, and Steven Spielberg was like 5 feet from me. And then we got to see the movie, and it was crazy. And then like a surprise John Williams concert happened, and all of us in the theater listening to the Indiana Jones theme in our full costumes were just crying in the dark because this song came on. It was crazy. It was like a very emotional, overwhelming kind of nerdgasm day. It was crazy.
Sounds
like
magical.
A lifetime thing.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about what you do for work and everything, and what you do for fun. But in closing, as we finish up our interview here, is there anything you wanted to share or say to the community as a whole?
I think I would just say thank you for supporting the game. It's great to feel kind of welcome in the game space, to have people respond so positively to something that you've worked so hard on is, I'm super grateful. I'm very thankful to be on this team and working on such a cool game that, it's so cool. And to get these opportunities, like doing the D100 cards, and I got to do the foil on the Genie card that was drawn by the artist that drew Genie. That was like a weird, who thought I would do that? I never thought I would do that, and that wouldn't happen if people didn't love the game. So I'm just so thankful for all the support and keep it coming. I want to do more crazy cards.
We want more crazy
I love
cards.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's time for news.
And we've
You can
got
stick
some
around
news.
and stick around and talk news with us, because you can maybe offer a little bit of commentary on some things here.
Ooh, I'll hang around.
Sweet. So first off, the first thing I wanted to say is congratulations to Adara. She won her set champ last week. So way to go, Adara. And then next up is the Las Vegas. Jared, did you see this?
I sure did.
Maybe. The Las Vegas challenge is going on sale Monday the 22nd at 8 p.m. for both Challenger and attendee tickets.
And it's 8 p.m. Pacific time. So I'll be home. I'll be off work.
Yes.
I'll be ready.
They made it 8 p.m. just for you.
Yes, that's right.
And some of them have been at noon. So
Can I do this next one?
you can do the next one.
Okay. All right. So the next piece of news that we have, I just want to bring up the screen here. Okay. Yes. So we had the announcement of a exclusive set at D23. It's going to be available for purchase at D23 August 9th through the 11th, but it's also going to be available for purchase at the Disney stores in downtown Disney, Florida, France, and I think somewhere in Italy, and the New York store, and somewhere in England. So there's going to be lots of places to get this D23. But, I was telling people just last week, I'm wearing these Oswald ears until we get an Oswald card here. And guess what? We have an Oswald card.
Zoom, enhance.
Hold on. How do I zoom in on this?
I don't know if you can. It's so. As soon as we saw this image, I looked at them closely and I'm like, okay, yes, it's awesome. There's an Oswald, but what is it? And then I looked and I saw the BLT, and then I saw the Cindy, and then I saw the Ursula, and I'm like, wait a second, that means I just counted, and I'm like, that means Oswald is coming in set 6. And then about 20 minutes later, it was someone revealed that, like, I don't remember who said it officially, but they're like, yes, or they zoomed in and finally there was a good enough picture to see that it said a 6 in the corner on the Oswald card, and we knew it was on set 6. So I was like, this is really cool. I think this is like a celebration of the first year. It's all of the sets, right? So
exactly that. Yep.
It's awesome.
So do I retire my Oswald ears now?
Oh, look at that. He took them off for the first time on air. Wow.
Okay.
And in real life, he's been wearing them for 3 years.
But since we have Mr. Graphic Design here, tell us about designing these cards. I mean, I've honestly mostly just looked at the Oswald card, but Oswald has like these flower patterns around the frame here. I love how it's like black and white in color, but tell us what designing these frames were like.
Yeah, and before I do say that, I just want to also say that as soon as I saw that we had announced this, I thought of you, Jared, and I remember I messaged you, right? I said, "Did you see the Oswald card?" Because I knew you wanted that, and I remember like months and months and months ago, I saw like a comment from you on the Discord. You were like, "Oswald, when?" And I had it up on my screen, and I was like, I don't know.
You knew the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, I will say,
but these cards. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, this card, not only is it a beautiful looking card, it also has an amazing ability. And if I was going to have to wait 6 sets to get an Oswald, this is worth the wait here. And
it's drawn by, I think it's Tom Bancroft.
Yeah.
Who's a Disney artist. Yeah, he's super cool. These cards were fun to do because we went back to the original artists that did the the main pieces, and we said, we want you to add on. Now we're going to do like almost like a full art or expanded art version. So they got to go back through and add new pieces, and I kind of got to help set up, what are they going to be, as far as the frame, and where can they overlap stuff, and kind of make like a new template for the artists to look through. And then doing the foiling on these was really cool too. You can't tell on the Oswald card here because it's just a flat image, but that part that you see that's like a crate, that part's not foiled because he's pulled the card off, right? So he's peeled the foil back, so that part's not foil, and the rest is. So that was super fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's like, how can I make this foil kind of, go with the card and be kind of funny? Yeah, it wouldn't be foiled there. He's
destroying the screen.
I think you kind of missed something around the inkwell symbol here. It seems to be missing. So,
that's the first emerald card that's actually a sapphire card.
That's hilarious. So did you have your hand in designing anything except the cards, or like did you design any portions of the box?
I did not do the box. Sophia did the box, which it came out great.
Really did.
She worked really hard on that. I did do the 3D render of it, which I think eagle-eyed people spotted that the collector number on Ursula was wrong. It's only wrong in the render. It's correct on the card I checked, but it says P2 on there. I think it's supposed to say D23.
People will catch every square pixel. I swear.
But that's good though. That's good. That keeps us honest, I think.
Anyway, it's a beautiful set, and I'm headed to D23, and I won't be there. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday, but you can bet I'll probably be lining up Friday night to get in Saturday morning. So I cannot wait to get my hands on these. And Oswald, he's right there. He's less than 2 weeks away. So I'm excited.
The excitement is approaching the level when the first set was announced, and I was like planning like going to get it the first time, and for it's like, okay, cool, but then as soon as they announce it's in so many places, I was actually like, whew, I don't have to like, I'm not going to have to fight with thousands of people to try and I mean, I'm still going to have to kind of like elbow a few people possibly, maybe, but the demand is going to be there, but I think the supply will also be there, which I think is really nice. That we're actually going to be able to get this in multiple places. Like if we didn't get it at D23, we could just go over to downtown Disney and get it across the street, which is hilarious, I think.
Yeah, so that's what I'll be doing Friday.
Oh, going to downtown Disney?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, nice.
It's a long drive.
Pick me up.
Worth it for Oswald.
Well, I was headed to D23 anyway. Like,
so just coming down to
there.
Yeah. Any other? Oh, so what other D23s? Oh, we're also going to be getting another Brave Little Tail. Oh, no, it's the Sorcerer Mickey. We're going to get a D23 promo, which we found out today. We haven't seen it yet, but we did find out that it will be D23 exclusive. It won't be available anywhere else. So while the D23 6-card set will be available at multiple locations worldwide, the card itself will only be available, handed out for free at D23.
I've seen it, and it looks pretty cool.
Shame.
We did something on that card that we haven't done on other cards before. That's my little tease for you.
Well, now I can't wait. Now I cannot wait.
Like, now I must have one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had is the correct word, a deluge of cards revealed today and over the last week. It was so many.
A flood of cards.
We're not covering all these cards.
Oh, no, we're not. Okay. But I wanted to at least mention most of them, or at least some of them.
What do you mean mention most of them?
Well, I mean, like we're going to mention that.
Most of them. You'd be like, I'm going to read the stats, read the abilities, and talk about it.
No, I mean, we got the 7 dwarves again. We don't have to talk about all 7 dwarves. But we got the 7 dwarves again, this time in steel, and another Snow White, which is awesome. with all kinds of knight matters, kind of information. They all are knights, so I thought that was really cool. There's this new Medal of Heroes in Sapphire, I think that you're going to like because it's in Sapphire and it does a really cool ability.
I'm just gonna sit here and say I'm feeling pretty good about Sapphire this set.
Sapphire's still doing good. Yeah, I think you're fine with Sapphire. I think so. There's a new Scar that it has an awesome ability that you can banish a Mufasa when he comes into play. Very thematic, very on point. Let me see. Scrolling through all the dwarves right now. Actually, you know what? Let me do this.
See, you guys do this when the cards are revealed. You go through and read all the things. I do this when I'm working on the set. When it first comes to me, I'll just sit and go through all the cards and read them, and then I'll message Steve and go, "You crazy man, you did it again!"
So we're just going to scroll and then let people see them who are watching. But I think if you're looking for these, then most people will be able to just go and see them, at card reveals on Jared's on the Citizens of Lorcana Twitter. He's reposted all of these. But we got a new Sven. We got this Medal of Heroes I was talking about, which lets you exert it, spend 2, and banish it. And then the chosen character of yours gets +2 lore. So you throw this on like
he always does
the aerial with Ward. I mean, now if you have a dime out, now you get 4 extra lore. It's awesome. There's that Scar. There's the Snow White, which is awesome. I think the art's awesome on that one. So cool. Nice.
Aubrey Archer, shout out to Aubrey.
And then we got all the dwarves again. Look at all these guys, all knights.
I haven't even liked how many he's been from Casey. Have you noticed?
I haven't seen any.
Some of them are different.
Yeah, there's actually at least 2 different artists on these, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Then we got Ed.
They did a good job matching each other.
Another hyena.
It's a good looking card.
Lore. A 4-drop with 3 lore. This is crazy. It's awesome. We got Iago. Now, I don't know if you can see Iago on this one because he's in disguise. We got Merlin. Now, Merlin's Cottage is good too. This one is, again, you're feasting in Sapphire, Jared. Feasting. Each player plays with the top card of their deck face up. You don't even have to have a character here for the ability to be active.
Amethyst Sapphire might be a thing next set.
And we found out
Bruno
what's that?
Yes,
Shane?
I was gonna say this is gonna go good with Bruno. This is good for a Bruno combo,
right? Because you can just name the card and get 3 lore every time.
I've been playing a Brumo deck where it's got a bunch of brooms and Ursula's cauldrons and stuff, and Bruno in that has been also really fun. But this might be like the secret weapon.
Someone actually took a deck like that to one of the set champs I was in and actually did okay. He didn't win, but he beat a few like meta decks with it.
It's fun. It's a fun deck. It's cool.
But we found Steve answered a question on Twitter today that every card in a draw you get to see, because it's draw, like in a whole new world is draw 7. But it's one at a time. It's draw cards 7 times. So you get to see every card they put in their hand. So this is amazing information with this card every time. Wow. We got a new Robin Hood. We got a new Genie, a new legendary Genie. This one's awesome. This one is when this character exerted, opposing characters do not ready at the start of their turn. That's pretty powerful, right? I'd say
7
so.
cost.
7 cost. That's the problem. That means you got to play this in Sapphire Amethyst to get get that ramp going. We've got a new Anna. We've got a Clarabelle. I think this is the 2nd Clarabelle now.
Yeah.
We got Monstro. More Pinocchio. This one's love the art on this one. The guy looks mean.
Got a lot of willpower.
Try everything. This one, I love the art on this one. This one's like the Shimmering Skies of the Shimmering Skies set is in this card. It's awesome. A new Robin Hood Floodborn by Nicholas Cole.
I love that art.
Yes, right, with the Illuminary in the background, and it's it's amazing.
This is sometimes when. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, when we do the foils on these cards, we have another person on the team that I'll assign them out to and say, like, this is here's a bunch, and then when they come back, I review each of them and make little tweaks or just say okay, they're good. If it's a Peter Pan card, I'll pull that aside and I'll do it myself. But sometimes I'll find other cards that are just really cool, and I'll say I'm going to do that one. And this is one of those ones that I was like, I'm not going to assign that out. I'm going to do the foil on Robin Hood's Sneaky Sleuth, and hold that one aside. And
that's such a cool card. It's beautiful.
Privileges of the job. I think that this one is. I remember an interview. I think he did it with the Overexerted podcast, where Nicholas Cole was talking about the previous awesome art from John.
John Lauren.
John Lauren. The previous art from John Lauren, how awesome that was with the Winnie the Pooh and then his Robin Hood, and he's like, and I've got some. I think they're having like a friendly battle of who can do the best art, and so this I think is just the latest salvo in that battle.
I'm here for it. I'm here for that battle.
Yeah, they're
right.
Yeah, so good.
And then we have this Daisy Duck, which everyone's looking at this going, this card is either really amazing or like, why are you giving your opponent cards? What's going on here? It's a Amber, 1-cost uninkable, 1/4 stats with a 1-drop with 2 lore and the ability Big Prize. Whenever this character quests, each opponent reveals the top card of their deck. If it's a character, they may put it into their hand. Otherwise, put it on the bottom of their deck. So
this might be a good counter to like an item deck.
Exactly. Yeah. Get those lucky dimes put on the bottom. Play this with Sapphire, and you can see every card, and you know when to use her ability.
This is going to be a really good aggro card.
Yeah,
that's
it's
a big brain
card.
play.
Yeah, because I mean, she's unlike the Lilo or Maleficent 1-drops. She's going to survive for more than one turn.
Yep.
We've got a new Vanellope in Amber. And we have this amazing Mufasa legendary, which again, either this card is completely broken or no one will ever be able to figure out how to make it work, because it's an 8-drop uninkable 4 lore, 4/9 stats with 2 abilities. When you play this character, exert all cards in your inkwell and then return 2 cards at random from your inkwell to your hand. This is the first ever inkwell manipulation back out of the inkwell. And then the second ability, everything the light touches, whenever this character quests, ready all cards in your inkwell, effectively giving you 2 turns during 1 turn.
Is this one of the cards you messaged Steve about?
It's exactly one of the cards I messaged Steve about. I said, this card's crazy. It's just so cool. It's just so cool. I was like, it was the same as you. I was like, I get to double my ink, basically. I get to ready everything.
Yeah, and if you it's in Sapphire, so you already get plenty of ink to spare 2 back to your hand.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it says exert all the other cards in your inkwell when you play them. You probably have already done that. If you're playing an 8-cost character, there's probably not another ink left over after that.
Exactly. And if there is, oh well. I mean, you just play them last after you spent all your ink. Because Sapphire, I've got 15 ink. Poor me, I have to exert all of it in advance before I play this. Oh man! Actually, you know what that does? Actually, that's actually something I just thought about just now. That stops Dime users from playing this and then activating Dime on the same turn.
Ooh.
Yep. We had a new Pete card. I think someone called it the repeat card because it brings out a Pete for free. That's it. That's all the new ones I put on there. There was other ones. There was plenty of other new ones. I didn't even put them on here. So I wouldn't even gone through that many. See, it wasn't that bad.
See, Jared.
Sure.
Jared just
where's your Christmas
you
spirit?
can see now his look. Now you can see if you're watching video, Jared's look of like, sure, James. Uh-huh.
That was fun. Thanks for joining us.
You want to ask him some Disney trivia?
No, we're not doing Disney trivia.
No Disney trivia?
No.
All right.
All right. Well, Shane, that's the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I think it was super interesting to learn about exactly what goes on as far as the graphic design, putting the card together, learning about honestly, I truly wondered what the heck a cold foil was. So the fact that you were able to explain that to me and I understood it is huge. And just learning about the foiling process in general, both for regular cards and for the promo stuff. I mean, we asked Steve the other day if he had the best job in the world, but you might be a close second or third. I mean, you're right up there. That's a pretty cool job.
Ooh.
So
I'll take
again,
it.
thank you for joining us. Yeah, if people want to connect with you or talk to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I'm on the Discord, so you can find me on the Discord. There as McFly. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way.
Awesome. Yep. And if you liked what you heard,
Yeah.
you can. And if you liked what you heard, you can follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on the podcasting platform of your choice. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. And James, where can they find you?
They can find me everywhere online at Dan Regal, and Comic-Con is next week, so I will stop mentioning that we have the Comic-Con podcast going because we're done until Comic-Con and then after Comic-Con. So unless you want to follow along with the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog on Twitter, but I would suggest not following along on Twitter unless you're there, because it's going to be just nothing but Comic-Con tweets about like line updates and where exclusives are, and I mean just lots of information you don't need.
I can't believe we've been doing this long enough that this is my second Comic-Con, like working through this with you. So
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's where I'll be, is at Comic-Con next week, and enjoying that. And I will try and actually post some updates on social media for once of things I'm doing, because hopefully I'll be doing some pretty cool stuff.
All right.
So
Thanks
I think
for
that's it.
tuning in.
Right. Thank you again, Shane, for coming on. And we'll see you next time.
Guys, thanks for having me. This was super fun.
Awesome.